Uh, Good afternoon to all our friends who are present for this very important webinar. Dr. Ramesh Ranavana, who is going to be our keynote speaker and, of course, the most important person in this webinar. We have our council members, Mr. Ruchira Pereira and Senior Professor Kennedy Gunawardena, and also our CEO, Ms. Monica Ranasinghe, and Senior Director Shanti Maheshwaran, and our members and all other invitees. So let me, on behalf of the CMA Sri Lanka or the Institute of Certified Management Accountants of Sri Lanka, welcome you to this very important webinar that we are organizing on the theme Transforming Financial Insights, the role of AI and Gen AI in management accounting. This I consider a very important topic. If you see, maybe all the newspapers and all news items, is today everyone is talking of AI. So we are very happy that we've been able to invite a very competent person, Dr. Ramesh Ranavana, to speak to us. But before that, I just want to say a few things that the CMA Sri Lanka has done on our side relating to AI and digitalization. Now, we just launched our new syllabus, which is now applicable. And the theme of this is equipping future accountants. So this is also part, this webinar that we are conducting both for members and students is equipping future accountants. And three main areas that we have looked at, of course, the digitalization, which is maybe one aspect of what Dr. Ramesh is going to speak to us. When you say AI, I'm sure we like to know what really comprises, which may be very much more than what we are looking at. So that was one area, and we have really included very many parts of this in our syllabus, including digital business, data analytics, of course, the various accounting IT programs that we are doing. Then, in addition to that, we also want to ensure that our management accountants create value. I'm sure Dr. Ramesh will agree with us because AI is really a tool that is going to create value for all. Maybe for the students, for the members, and of course the business organizations, which is there. And I'm sure he will be able to tell us more when he's doing. That is creating value. The third one is that solution savvy. We need to provide solutions, and I don't know whether we are, as management accountants or financial accountants, we are required, or whether the AI is going to provide the solution. So these are things that I'm sure that we will hear, but CMA is really taken the lead in this, and we are giving both our members and the students a flavor of what is there in the modern world. So just to say briefly on Dr. Ramesh Ranavana, because he is someone I'm sure a lot of you might know. He earned his DPhil in artificial intelligence from the University of Oxford. So I think that's something that is of great value. Then Dr. Ranavana has experience as an academic, entrepreneur, and business leader. At Dialogue Axiata, he was instrumental in setting up an AI analytics division, enhancing the company's operational efficiency and customer service. Actually, I just gave the more important thing. There are so many else other things that are there, but from his address, from his speech, you will really get to know what is the real knowledge, the competency, experience that he has had in this field. And I must also thank his CEO and MD, Mr. Supun Veerasinghe. He is also our member, and he's been supporting us, and for arranging Dr. Ramesh to come and speak to us. And I must say it was on very short notice. So I must thank Dr. Ramesh for accepting our invitations and coming to us. So over to you, Dr. Ramesh. I'm sure that we had a large number who had been attending, but I'm sure Some of them, as you know, always people come a little late, so they might always drop in late. But in the case of IT, if you come late, then you're going to lose. So I'm sure. Let me hand over to Dr. Romesh for his address.
Thank you very much, Professor Hotel, and good afternoon to everybody. Let me share my screen. Is my screen?
Yeah, fine.
Yes. So, once again, good afternoon to everybody. And my talk really today is to give you, it's going to be my talk is going to be in two parts. First, I'm going to give you a glimpse of some of the latest advancements in AI, especially to do with generative AI. And we'll talk about, why is this so important beyond the hype? There's a lot of hype that's going on in the newspapers, in media at the moment about AI. But we as engineers, we as people on the ground who actually have to build impact and benefits with AI, look at AI in a very different way. What AI will do over the next 10, 15 years, it's really nobody knows because it's there's so much happening at the moment. There's so many advances, and how this whole field will evolve is essentially unknown at the moment. But what we do know is what's going to happen over the next five 5 to 10 years, because we can see that already happening. And as you know, with any technology, when it's first introduced, it's used by a small number of people, and then the number of people who use that technology grow over time, and it reaches a point where it reaches mass market. And now AI is at that point where it's beyond the hype now, where what we're seeing is true impact, changes in companies, changes in the way we operate, and it's come to a point where we actually it is changing the very essence of how we live, how we work, uh, right down to the bottom. And if you look over history, there have been this transformational periods in society, especially during the industrial revolutions. The first industrial revolution brought factories, industrial scale manufacturing, and driven by steam engineering, and that fundamentally changed how manufacturing was done, how agriculture was done. The second industrial revolution was primarily to do with electricity, and that led to a boom in once again how we communicate, how we manufacture things. It changed once again the very essence of life. Similarly, if you go back to the third industrial revolution, where we had computers and the internet coming on board, if you look at how we worked in the 1980s and then through the 1990s and then through the 2000s, how we worked, how we lived, how we ran our businesses was fundamentally changed. And this all of how we communicate, how we do our work, how we manage our accounts, how we manage our finances, how we market our products, how we sell our products. That has all fundamentally changed due to the third industrial revolution. And now the fourth industrial revolution is upon us, which is essentially to do with AI and robotics. And that is once again going to change the very essence of the way I see it, the way we live. It's going to change our lives. And we all use AI already. We use it in our emails. We use it in our when we order food or Uber or Pick Me or something like that. We use it on our phones. Some of you, talk to your phone, Siri, all these different things. So there's already AI embedded into our lives, and it's going to come more and more into our work lives as well. And that means that whoever you are, you're going to be impacted. You're going to be part of using AI. So I look at four groups of people who will be the AI users. The first group are the engineers who actually build these AI systems. Very, very important to have competent engineers who know how to build things, know how to do it well, how to create impact. But more importantly, for me, the larger group are business leaders. The business leaders are those people who have to come up with strategy and figure out how to build business cases on how to bring AI into their companies, into the way you work. On top of that, will be everybody in the workspace, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, accountant, a management accountant, an engineer, you name it. AI is going to form a big part of your job. Uh, very few of those jobs that I mentioned are going to be replaced, but all those jobs are going to be augmented by AI. Everybody who works with AI is going to be a lot more productive than somebody who doesn't use AI. And then the fourth group is everybody else. Everybody else in the world is going to be impacted by AI in some way. If you use WhatsApp, if you use email, if you use some of these delivery services, you're going to be impacted by AI in some way. So what I'm going to do today is, like I said, two parts of my talk. I'm going to give you an overview of some of the latest developments in AI and start off a bit fun, show you some of the latest developments and some of the things that we can do with AI. And then the second part of my talk, I'll actually do a live demo for you on ChatGPT, where we'll go in and use AI to do knowledge dissemination, receipt processing, data processing, data analysis, a few things like that, just so that you all get a flavor of how these things work. So if you look at the advent of artificial intelligence, just like every other industry in the world, management accounting is undergoing a significant transformation, primarily because AI introduces capabilities like predictive analytics, real-time data processing, and automation of routine tasks, which means that it's something that you cannot avoid. What AI brings to you, and which I'll go into a lot of detail later, is the ability to be able to instill or embed human skills into technology. Into technology meaning into servers, into phones, into websites. And the moment you can do that means that you can scale. Instead of building one, you can build 100, you can build 1,000. And that's how you start to bring in that impact into improve your productivity, improve your efficiency, offer new products. It just opens up a whole plethora of options which were not available before. So if you look at the relevance for management accounting, this is just so we get things going, is number one, it can be hugely useful in enhancing accuracy. It helps you reduce errors in financial data and make sure you have more reliable information for making decisions. Uh, Huge improvements in efficiency. We're already seeing this in our companies. We've started bringing in AI to automate some of the different processes that we have. So automation of repetitive tasks means that it frees you up, gives you more time to focus on strategic activities. And very importantly, this is something we are investing heavily on at the moment as well, is using AI to drive insights, using advanced analytics and real-time data to provide deeper insights. And this is primarily because we in our companies now have access to so much data. It is practically impossible for a single person to be able to dive into all this data and extract that data. You have to have some sort of technology at the back end which is generating these insights for you. If not, you're severely limited in how much you can do and how much you can do. So this impact of AI is essentially possible because AI has the ability to simulate human skills. And let me explain. Over the last 20 years, last 25 years, from the time that I did my PhD, AI already had the ability to simulate basic human skills. AI could do things like handwriting recognition. You may have had this on your phones 10, 15 years ago. It's been able to do speech recognition to a certain extent. It did get it wrong a lot, but you call some of these automated phone lines and stuff, and they recognize your voice sometimes at least. But that's AI working at the back end. It's been able to do image recognition, and we've seen this across the board from driverless cars to phones. Had that ability to do image recognition and to a certain extent also do a little bit of reading comprehension as well. But what we've seen over the last 20 years is that the level of skill of AI has not been static. It's been growing exponentially. If you look at the ability of AI to do handwriting recognition, uh, you know, around 2000, 1998 was when I did my undergraduate thesis on actually handwriting recognition. And the state of the art at the moment was it used to get about 20% right. But now, as you can see, with AI models getting bigger, more data to train, going forward, from about 2013, 2014 onwards, the accuracy of handwriting recognition systems has now started to surpass what a normal person can do as well. Similarly, speech recognition has gradually grown, and around 2015, now these systems are more accurate than people as well. Image recognition, similarly, reading comprehension, language understanding, all these skills have just come to a level where they now surpass human skills, and the accuracy level is better than actually using a person to do some of these tasks. But beyond that, over the last few years, what we've seen is the introduction of generative AI. And what generative AI has brought to the table is the introduction of a whole host of new skills which were not available before. And just by the name, you probably understand AI, generative AI gives us ability to generate new information. The previous AI was things like classification, forecasting. It used to be quite limited in the type of things it could do. It couldn't really create new things, creativity. But generative AI now has the ability to create new content, from creating new text, creating new audio, creating video, creating music, creating new insights. That's really where the game changer comes in. And essentially, this is now possible because we have very, very large computers driven by the cloud, where you don't have to invest anymore. You don't have to have massive capex investments to run AI systems. All you need to do is to rent the service that you want of the internet for the time period that you want, and that has really propelled and accelerated the field of AI over the last few years. And second, the availability of so much data now on the internet in our companies, which has allowed us to then build these very, very large AI models and train them on large amounts of data. So the larger the model is and the more data that you give means that it can start to do more and more things. And essentially, that's what's happening at the moment. The models are getting larger and larger every year, and there's more data being used to train these models as well. So if you look at the capabilities of generative AI, you all probably know this already. You can use things like ChatGPT to write letters, to write emails. We use this daily to generate things like job descriptions. We use it for copywriting. We use it for report writing, for search engine optimization. All those things are possible. But beyond that, we can also automate a lot of the tedious tasks that we do. So here, I'm taking a simple example where I'm trying to create copy for the following text for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. So let's say it's a special promotion at a company like Dialog, where the promotion is about get a new postpaid connection and enjoy additional 4 GB data absolutely free for 6 months. Dial this number. And my prompt says, create a copy for the following text, fine-tuned for Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And immediately, when I give that prompt, it's able to create different versions of the same article, fine-tuned and aligned with the expectations of Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, which are fundamentally different. So this is the type of thing that normally can take you, 2-3 hours to put together. But if you have your prompts properly sorted out and you embedded your corporate guidelines and things like that into your prompt, you can start to churn these out in a matter of minutes. Generative AI is not only about generating text. It's also taken things like image recognition and image comprehension, not just knowing whether there's a cat in on an image, but also understanding what the cat is doing. So this is an experiment I tried. I took this photograph of the internet, uh, loaded this up onto ChatGPT and said, explain this image to me. And it came up with this long, long description. The image depicts a camping scene, likely in a forested area. There's a young person sitting on the ground, focused on something in their hands, possibly a bowl or a gadget. To the right, an adult male with a beard is squatting down, reaching towards a cooking pot. There are several camping items scattered around, including red backpack, a blue sleeping bag. The scene suggests a casual and relaxed atmosphere, indicating that two individuals are enjoying their time outdoors. It's a snapshot of a classic outdoor bonding experience, possibly between a parent and a child. So you see how far AI has come now. It's gone beyond just recognizing the difference between a cat and a dog or a tree. It can now understand context. And the value of this for things like security, for marketing, for market research is massive. No longer do you need to have hundreds of people who are trawling newspapers, YouTube channels, TV channels to understand what your competitors or somebody else is doing, or what people are saying about your brand, you can create automated bots which will automatically go in, start to troll these systems, and give you very, very detailed insights on what's actually going on, both from text, video, images, you name it. You already know how far image generation has got to with generative AI. This is the type of image that we were able to generate in around 2014. But now we are at a level where you can give a very, very complex prompt like this. A Pomeranian is sitting on the king's throne wearing a crown. Two tiger soldiers are standing next to the throne. It's able to generate this image. And as you can see, the benefits this has brought into the creative industry for brainstorming, for marketing is enormous. The type of marketing material that used to take you weeks or months, now you can churn out in a matter of hours or a day or two maximum. Generative AI also allows us to do things like generation of videos. This was done by Alibaba. It was launched about a month ago, where they've taken this old photograph and they managed to create a video just out of this single photo. You see how realistic it is. Everything from the facial expressions to the voice is unbelievably realistic, and this opens up a whole lot of options as well. Video generation is the new technology that's now gaining traction and becoming more and more mature. This is from OpenAI. Once again, a prompt saying a fluffy monster kneeling behind a melting candle, and it's able to generate this whole video. So it's not about only generating images; it can also generate videos as well. Another video, long prompt here. Several giant woolly mammoths approach treading a snowy meadow. Their long woolly furs slowly blows in the wind as they walk, snow-covered trees and dramatic snow. So you see, it's able to generate this entire video. So I'm sure every one of you can understand how this is going to change the creative industry. Even at Dialogue now, the marketing team is using GenAI more and more. Whereas earlier, when they had an idea, it used to take them, a day or two on Photoshop to visualize the idea. But now they're able to think of an idea, type in the prompt, and see what they're thinking about, how it looks like immediately. So instead of spending 2 days working on two ideas. Now, in a single day, they can try out 500 ideas in the same amount of time and pick exactly what they want to do. There's another one, a Chinese Lunar Year celebration video with Chinese dragon. And this you can see how complex this scene is. See the amount of people that are there on this image, and this is all generated with Gen AI, Sora, which OpenAI is going to launch quite soon. So it's not only a generation of video. Uh, we also have voice generation, which once again we are now using heavily in our companies for developing marketing materials, presentations, customer messages. We can use human voice generation. So this is just another example. A website I use quite often called 11 Labs. Uh, Taken this famous quote by Fei Li, a famous computer scientist, where it says artificial intelligence is not a substitute for human intelligence. It's a tool to amplify human creativity. What I've done is I've entered it into 11 Labs and generated that voice in four different flavors. So the first one is American. It's a British voice.
Can you hear the voice? You can't hear.
You can't hear it, Prof.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not heard. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know how to get that going. So the GenAI systems are not only about generating text, they're actually now showing intelligence, and intelligence is measured by us in exams. This is from the OpenAI website, a comparison of they enter in these exam questions, standardized exam questions, into ChatGPT and see how many of the questions they get right or wrong, and actually grade it like an actual student. And what you see in blue is the grades that the old ChatGPT, GPT 3.5, used to get. So on subjects like environmental science, that's evidence-based reading and writing, art history, psychology, US government, it does really well. It's on the 90th percentile, 80th percentile, something like that. And then when GPT-4 came out, it started to do well on some of the subjects it didn't do earlier either. Things like statistics, macroeconomics, physics, quantitative. So, so even though these are not real intelligence, they can simulate human intelligence. They can learn knowledge and they can answer questions on that knowledge that it gained. And this, once again, I'm sure all of you all can understand the value it can bring. It can bring to your businesses. Similarly, as a coder, my job as a programmer is also at risk at the moment. I need to reevaluate where I bring that value in. Uh, I gave this prompt, a simple prompt saying, write me a Python function to create a new email based on an input text and send to support at company.com. The moment I did that, it generated all the code I need for me in Python. And I ran this, it worked perfectly. It's essentially input text. Everything I enter into the text box, it sends as an email. Another experiment I tried, I drew this on a piece of paper. It's just a small form, an interest calculator where I enter in the amount, the duration, the interest, and a tick box for whether there's compound interest or not, and for it to calculate the return. And my prompt was essentially to say I wanted to generate HTML code for me to create the interest calculator showed on this image on a website. It generated the code for me, and when I ran the code, this is what I got on my browser. So this is, the type of coding that will take me 2, 3 hours maybe to put together, get it working, to test it, and all that, or maybe even longer. But I was able to do this on ChatGPT in a couple of minutes. So these human skills, when you can take these human skills that AI offers and then embed it into technology, that's when you start to get these massive advantages. So if you look at some of the key applications in management accounting, uh, things like document classification, where you use AI to categorize financial documents automatically. That'll obviously improve your efficiency. You can use it for data extraction, and I'll show you a couple of examples of this. Extract relevant data from structured or unstructured documents, and very, very useful for things like document summarization as well. You can take, hundreds of page-long documents and get them to generate summaries, or even go and ask questions from the document after that as well. It's used heavily now for things like fraud detection and compliance. Uh, this has been done in the financial industry now for close to 40, 50 years. Things like anomaly detection, predictive analytics has been done for a long time, but the ability to forecast is getting better and better now with these larger models coming in. So the forecasts are a lot more accurate than they used to be. And when you can do things like anomaly detection and predictive analytics, you tie it into your real-time data feeds or data streams, and you can also do real-time monitoring. The type of things that you just couldn't do manually. Now you can automatically monitor on using the AI system. You can also use it for things like customer service, uh, virtual assistants, personalized communication, customer profitability analysis. These are already being used, and there are so many apps now available on your phones, on the internet, on all these different stores to be able to do that. Virtual assistants, I mean, ChatGPT is a virtual assistant. We use it heavily for personalized communication, where we try to tailor a message that we send to a customer based on that particular customer's persona or the micro segment that we have put that customer into. Uh, Heavily used for process automation as well, workflow automation, decision support systems, and real-time data processing, as I explained earlier. And for also things like risk management and decision making. Risk assessment tools, we've already started to plug in several risk assessment tools. We do it for things, even for things like contract analysis. We use GenAI heavily. Uh, The next stage is once your company matures to a certain level, you can also then use this data and AI to simulate forward as well. We are not only looking at what happened before, but you're also able to project and simulate what would happen later. You can try out different scenarios and get the AI to tell you what will happen if I increase this product by this much, what will happen if I introduce a new product. That's the type of thing that you can do with scenario simulation and predictive modeling. And what is already being used quite heavily in many, many companies is the use of AI for training and knowledge management. You have AI-driven training modules, you can have knowledge bases. A lot of companies are now replacing manuals and reference documents with chatbots so that somebody doesn't have to read a 300-page document to understand it. They just have a chatbot where whenever they want to know something, they go into the chatbot and ask the chatbot, and the chatbot will tell them what they need to do. So it's really changed the game on how you manage knowledge in your companies. And that's very useful for things like compliance training and things like that as well. So some of the new applications that we see for management accounting is financial forecasting, which I'll do a demo for you in a bit. Uh, you can do things like predictive analytics, scenario planning, and trend analysis. Real-time data analysis, once your systems are mature enough and your data systems are mature enough, you can stream your data into these AI systems in real time. And it's able to clean the data in real time, tell you problems about the data in real time, detect anomalies, all that. Automated FP&A, things like budgeting automation, dynamic forecasting, variance analysis, and uh, I think many, many companies around the world are now using AI heavily for audit and assurance as well. Now, something that you must understand is that all these, even though there are so many different options for AI systems, the complexity and what is required to build these systems differs drastically. So if I put this on a grid like this, every time you decide to make an investment in AI, you got to weigh two things, and that's what we do as well. First is the ROI. What's the return you're going to get on that particular investment? But very, very importantly, you must also have an understanding of the complexity of the product as well. How much effort is required to build that? Because some AI systems are easy to build, some are extremely difficult to build. It requires a massive investment, requires a lot of skill sets to come in. So something like audit and assurance is very, very high ROI, but with the technology we have now, the complexity is relatively low. But to do things like financial forecasting and real-time data analysis, the ROI is once again very high, but the complexity is massive because you need to create a huge infrastructure at the back end to be able to do that. So whenever you're planning investment in an AI system, it's very important to not only look at the ROI, but also to look at the complexity of building that system as well. There are some low complexity use cases all of you all can look at immediately. And these are very easy to build, and the ROI is relatively high or medium. Things like basic chatbots, simple data visualization tools, email automation, digital filling of simple forms, template-driven document generation, automated data entry. Those type of things are now really easy to do, and the type of systems that if you have a experienced programmer can probably churn out in a day or two, or even with an inexperienced programmer can probably put together in a couple of weeks. Uh, I use this heavily. I mean, even in our company, every time we do a procurement, there are about 10 different forms to fill. What we do now is we write one document with all the details that we need, and we have templates. And the templates allow us to take that single source document and generate the 10 different variances that we need to do this procurement. So we can automate a lot of those things going forward. So some of the example use cases we can look at that we've seen around the world. Siemens, we found some articles, is using AI for financial forecasting, and the problem that they're trying to solve here is accurately predicting financial performance due to the complexity and volume of their data. They're a massive company. And the solution that they came up with was an AI-driven financial forecasting tool that analyzed historical trends. And based on that, they're able to predict future financial outcomes as well. And obviously, the impact of this is improved financial forecasts and better strategic planning. Shell needed to enhance the efficiency and accuracy of their audit processes. So they integrated AI to automate and improve the audit processes, focusing on identifying anomalies and assessing risks. Those were the two main focuses of that AI system. And this increased their audit accuracy and efficiency. Zero, many of you may be using Zero already. Uh, they use AI for expense management, where Zero customers face challenges with manual expense reporting. So Zero brought in AI to automate the expense reporting process, ensuring that compliance and speeding up approvals. So significant time savings, reduction in manual errors. Unilever, I found this article, predictive analytics for cash flow management. So they needed to optimize their cash flow management to better predict cash needs and optimize their cash reserves. So they used an AI-driven predictive analytics system to forecast cash flow needs and manage cash reserves efficiently. So this allowed them to improve their cash flow management. So all these different types of AI systems that you see here, the way that you as a company, individually, each of you will interact with these systems will be different depending on the type of system that you're using. The first type of AI, which we are seeing less and less of around the world, is what are called autonomous AI. AI which operates independently without any type of human interaction. So here the AI will do the work automatically, and we are not seeing that very often because there's a lot of risk involved in those type of systems. Supervised AI is where the AI operates independently, but with a supervisor who's always watching what what the AI is doing and is able to stop the AI at any given time. Uh, then we have what's called AI augmentation and assistant AI, which are quite similar, where it's the actual worker or the person who still does the work, but the AI would assist them in doing that particular task. So if you want to look at what are the next steps for each of you in your company should look at how would you adopt AI, how would you look at AI. What you must understand is that adoption of AI is not a one-off investment and you'll see the benefit the next day. There's a huge transformation which needs to happen in your companies to actually get the benefits of AI. Think of digitization in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. Just buying the system did not bring your company value. On one side, you had to change your processes to match the new digital systems, but most importantly, you had to train your staff to use these systems. It's the same thing with AI. You have to redefine your processes, how your processes work to get the best out of the AI systems. But most importantly, in my experience working in the AI space over the last 20 years, is that it's only getting impact out of AI to your company. It's only about 30% of the story comes from the technology. The remaining 70%, your secret to success is how successfully, number one, you change your processes, a top-down approach. You change your processes to best match the benefits that AI bring you. And number two, how well your staff, your company adopts the technology. And this, I think, is the biggest mistake that a lot of companies make with AI. They are in a hurry. They don't understand that adoption of AI, just like adoption of digital 20 years ago, is a journey. It takes time. If you think of this as a capex investment, where you put the investment in and you get the benefit the next day, it's not going to happen like that. You got to think of it more as an operating expense, where you have to work on building capacity. Building the technology is not hard anymore. That's everybody. I mean, there's enough tools out there. There are enough people who know how to build systems. But the secret sauce is how well you plan your strategy, how you change your company to get the best out of AI. And the way I normally suggest many companies do this is first, don't leave the AI transformation to your technical team or your CTO. It's got to be handled by the chief operations officer, the CTO, the chief marketing officer. They all got to get together and plan a single strategy on how you're going to do this. So I always suggest that you form a dedicated cross-functional team, uh, and initially to lead AI learning, do knowledge dissemination, and to identify some initial simple use cases that you can bring in. Don't go big right at the start. Start small, and learn the flavor, learn how to build these systems, learn how different AI systems are from normal software systems. And then during that phase, you invest in learning and training, knowledge sharing, and you develop use cases. You try to identify those short-term use cases that you can do in a year, some of the medium-term ones, which will take 2 to 3 years, and the long-term ones, which may take 3 to 5 years. Once you identify those projects, you got to properly scope and prioritize them. You can't build 20 systems at once. You got to do one or two at a time, especially at the start of your journey. So you got to learn how to evaluate and prioritize your AI projects, match it to your needs, learn how to evaluate these projects and also prioritize them. Then once you have that list of prioritized projects, you look at prototyping or a proof of concept for one or two of them. You bring that in, see how you can bring that change in. And with that learning, that's when you would start to develop a long-term transformation plan where you've already learned from pilots, learned from POCs. I mean, honestly, to be quite honest with you, the biggest blocker to most AI transformations in companies is the senior management, because the senior management usually lacks technical knowledge on what AI can do and the patience to let this to grow these systems properly. And you got to build the confidence in the senior management as well. So if you go a big bang right at the start, it's not going to be easy. And once you have that in place, you can implement the long-term transformation plan from there onwards. So next step for y'all, think of AI's potential, think of the efficiency, the accuracy and insights that you can bring. Uh, Make sure you'll keep in touch with future trends and the evolving role of AI in management accounting, especially for y'all. And on your side, the call to action to integrate AI into your practices, you need to assess where you are and where you can go with AI. You have to evaluate the current accounting processes to identify where AI can bring in value. You got to think very carefully about implementation, but start with low complexity use cases and then gradually improve from there. And then look at training, invest in tough training so that you can have that transformation. So what I'll do now is I'll do a demo for you all on ChatGPT. Let me get the environment up and running. And then I can actually walk you through some real use cases on generative AI, just to give you a flavor of some of the things that you can do now. So let me share my screen again. Ruchir, is my screen visible?
Yeah. Okay, can see.
Yes, doctor. Yes, we can see. Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take a manual that I found off the internet, which is a accounting policies and procedures, a sample manual. It's not of any company. Just taken this manual. It's about how many pages? 20 pages long document. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open ChatGPT. I'm going to load this document, which is accounting protocol manual assessments, and I'm going to ask a few questions from it. So my first question is from the document: what are the specific duties of the executive director regarding financial approvals and reviews? So this is what I'm giving you is an example of knowledge dissemination, how you can create these chatbots within your company to replace these manuals. And you can see immediately, it gives me this list of duties of the ED, reviews and approves all financial reports, sees that appropriate budget is developed annually, reviews. So it's just a big change on how you make information available to your employees. What steps should we take to maintain and review the general ledger periodically? So this is reading directly from that document, and it gives me a very, very structured list of how to do things. Let's take another one where I'm talking about procedure. Here I'm saying, what is the procedure for approving employee reimbursements and managing expense allocations? The procedure for employing reimbursements and managed expense allocation is detailed in the following policies. Submission of reimbursement requests. Employees must submit the request, document requirements, lodging, meals and entertainment, other expenditures. Operation review and approval. The operation manager reviews all reimbursement. Payment date is determined and processing.
Can you get the voice also?
Yes. It's possible. It's not available on the web version at the moment, but available on your phone.
Right. Thanks.
You can have conversation. So you see what a difference this makes for knowledge dissemination, especially in environments where these processes might change all the time, right? So I'm asking what reports are required monthly and annually, and who is responsible for their preparation and review. So it gives me the list of all the monthly reports. It gives me the list of annual reports. Let's take another example. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I'm going to take a receipt. I'm going to process the receipt. It's a coffee shop receipt for vanilla frappe, an espresso, and 5 vanillas. So I'm going to load this image. Is that coffee card? Yeah. And I'm going to once again do some data extraction from this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, can you extract the name of the store, the date of purchase, the items and price, and the total tax? So I'm sure all of you all have some form of automated receipt processing in your companies, but you know how difficult it is to develop this software. Every time somebody comes up with a different type of receipt, you need to change your software to match that. But with these systems, these new systems don't really require any training. They're able to get this information directly out of the document itself. There should be a problem with ChatGPT. Yeah, here you go. So it's able to extract the store name, the address, the phone number, the date of purchase, items that were purchased, the totals, the tax, all that stuff. I can even ask it to extract this information and output in a format that I want, something like a CSV format. So say the same thing. Extract the name of the store, the date of purchase, the items and price, total tax, and output in CSV format, so that you can immediately send it to your database or something like that. You can automate these different workflows. So you see, it's immediately given me the output in CSV. And then you can create an automated pipeline, so it's sent straight into your SAP system or something like that. Let's look at another example where what I've got here is Amazon's P&L, I think from 2017. So I'm going to do some financial analysis on this P&L. So I'm going to load, once again, it's an image of the P&L. And I'm going to ask some questions from this. Start with, I want you to extract the basic earnings per share per year. You see it's able to extract those numbers directly from the document. I think the earnings per share here, 1.28, 5.01, 6.32. It's able to extract those quite well. Then let's go a bit more advanced and say, can you analyze the correlation between basic earnings per share and diluted earnings per share? Say, graph. This actually gave me the code to create the graph. Oh, it's not. There's something else. Calculate the ratio of each operating expense to total net sales to understand the cost structure and identify any areas of concern. So you can go really, really complex with your questions. And the more data you have, the better insights this will be able to give you. And I'm seeing, this type of systems, these are the chatbots are going to be standard within all your companies within the next 5 years. Show me this information on a graph. There seems to be a bug in ChatGPT today. It's not showing the graphs. But this usually does work. It actually shows you the graphs here. Instead, it's actually showing me the code. And I know many companies now are already investing in these layers on top of your data lake so that you can ask questions from your own data, your real-time data, streaming data, things like that. Yeah, it's not happening today for some reason. So let's see if I can find what I did earlier. Yeah, it seems to be a problem today with the system. But you should understand, you can visualize this usually on ChatGPT as well. I'm going to go into something a bit more interesting now, which is let's do a stock analysis and see what this can do. So what I've got is an Excel sheet with Apple stock prices from 2017 to 2020. So I'm going to load up the Excel sheet. Close this. So this is essentially a file which has all the Apple stock prices for a period of 3 years. So I'll show you. I'm just dragging this across. So it just has the price, the opening price, the closing price, the highs and the low, and the volume for every date from 2017 October to 2022 October. And I'm going to ask some questions on this. Let's say something like this. What is the overall trends in the stock price over the past 5 years? So this is using structured data straight out of an Excel sheet. But you can see this can easily be plugged into your own data as well. If you have a good data lake with all this data coming in all the time. So if you're investing in the stock market, this type of tool is a game changer. Right, so overall trends in the stock prices over the past 5 years. Let's ask something a bit more interesting, some insights. Let's say what patterns can be observed in the trading volume. The graphs work that time. And it gives me insights as well. So you see the plot of AAPL's trading volume over the past 5 years reveals several patterns, seasonal spikes. There are periodic spikes in trading volumes indicating days or periods of unusually high trading activity, fluctuations, high activity periods. So let's try to get a bit more detail on that. Uh, let's ask a question like this. Are there any seasonal patterns or cyclic trends in the stock price? So all of you investors now must be getting very excited seeing this because I'm sure you see the value of how how this can change things. So analysts are aware of stock price profile, both in terms of monthly averages. The overall trend shows a steady increase in average monthly closing price, indicating long-term growth. There are noticeable peaks and troughs, suggesting periodic fluctuation in stock prices. Trend components. So let's go a bit more detail. Uh, let's ask a question like this. How do stock prices typically behave in different months or quarters? This is per month, per quarter. The bar chart shows the average closing price for each month over the past 5 years. There are some variances, but overall, the prices do not show extreme differences from month to month. This suggests that there may be some seasonal influences, but not drastically change in the average price on a monthly basis. This is per month. The bar chart for quarterly averages indicators more pronounced patterns. The first quarter tends to have a lower average price compared to other quarters. Second and third quarters show relatively higher average prices. So it's able to go into a lot of details like this. Let's try doing a forecast. So, next 12 months. Yeah, we're providing with the forecast as well, no? And these forecasting models get better and better depending on the AI model you're using, and you can fine tune it yourself as well. So that really is my demo for today. Wanted to give you a glimpse of some of the work that you can do, and I'm sure all of you can now start to visualize on one side how this will help you in your day-to-day work, but also how you can bring these technologies into your company's tech stack and try to automate some of these things going forward as well. So think a lot about what these changes are, these changes that are happening around the world. These are the type of changes which you can't avoid. Those who use these systems, however good an accountant you are, management accountant you are, those who use these systems will have an edge over those who don't use it. It's as simple as that. But the people who use this and are still good at their jobs, they're going to be the best in the world. So it's really about finding that balance between what the AI is good at and what you're good at, and coming up with a way to come up with a synergy, a partnership with the technology on how you do your work. If you try to do this on your own, you're going to fall behind. If you try to use only technology and do your things, you're going to fall behind as well. So it's a synergy between your skills and the skills of the AI. And how do you form that partnership where the AI augments you, you're not augmenting the AI? And coming up with that perfect balance is where each one of you have to really think hard on where your future lies. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ramesh. I think that covered a lot of things and also gave us a great deal of information and as to how, as management accountants, that we can also make our job easy. So we will be going into the Q&A session. Just one thing that I was, and also maybe we'll have a comment from our senior professor Kendi Gunodna, because he's really into this area. Now, in all these chatbots, we will have to prepare the programs. Is it? How does it really work?
Not really, Prof. I mean, the big change that's happening in the technology space as well is now earlier when you wanted to build code, when you wanted to build systems, you had to hire a programmer. But now there is a proliferation of what are called low code and no code tools, where you can actually build these platforms, these products with almost no coding knowledge. So that barrier to entry is reducing on a day to day on a daily basis. And every week we see some technology coming where all you have to do is to upload your data, you type in a few commands, and your system is ready to go. So there's a wide plethora of what's available now, but the barrier to entry is not as hard as it used to be because these no code, low code tools are they're coming out, and it's really democratizing the use of this technology.
Thank you. Senior Professor Kendi Gunodna, you like to make any comments or questions you have?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ramesh. Excellent presentation. Uh, I have two problem or two issues to clarify from you because you are in industry experts. I'm in the academic side. I want to make a small background first. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Is that
Professor.
clear?
Yes, very clear.
Yeah. Now, in 2003, I think I just finishing my PhD in the doctor degree and came back to the University of Srijanapura. I just introduced the artificial neural network for accounting and finance, especially for our accounting students in Jayawardenapura University. You know, in Jayawardenapura University, management faculty, we have 6,000 students right now. We are bigger than the Jaffna University. The faculty itself is bigger than the Jaffna University. Even you are, I think, in dialogue, I think that many of them are coming from Jayanapura University. Most of them are my students as well, even your CEO.
Right.
Now, that was, artificial neural network in that time, very popular among the students. But once the students go to the industry, they come back and told me, sir, very rarely using this kind of a new knowledge in the industry people, even the stock market people also, they don't use this kind of a prediction on linear patterns and all. And the later stage, I think students realize that, go to some other subjects is much better than studying artificial neural network. But now I think in after year 2020, 21, now again the trend, many students are enrolled into the ANN course. Now my question is, at the moment, the first part of the question, at the moment, how do we make more awareness to the industry? Or the application side. I think the more maybe excluding your company or a few companies, but most of the companies still very rarely using this AI and ANN, whatever these new technologies. Now there are some challenges there. There are some barriers there. Now I think we should want to overcome such a things. Otherwise, the country as a whole, we can't get the competitive advantage. I think Singapore and other places are getting more competitive advantage than us. We have a qualified people, we have everybody's, but the industries are absorbing. With the university always try to do something under the low cost situation, under a lot of barriers, red tapes and everything we have. But we try to do something, but industry is not more absorbing or more trending or more attracting our students, or maybe some challenges and barriers there, and how to overcome that part in your point of view, very essential. My second part is my personal, actually my job related issue. Even our Dr. Ruchir also know that one. Most of the students right now, they use, chat GPT for assignments. My God, everybody using ChatGPT. The assignments are perfect, right? But when they come to the exams, especially we have physical exam, then they have a lot of issues. They can't perform very well. They are not doing very well. Sometimes they can't write even because ChatGPT make them everything easier. The life also easy and high marks also in the assignment. Nice to see. But when the physical exams, their performance is very poor. How to overcome that part as well, because the students are the future leaders. We have to give a correct path to them, but we can't avoid that this chat GPT is everybody using. We can't stop it, but we have to find out some other method to evaluate the students correctly. That is my second part. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Dr. Ramesh.
Thank you, President. I mean, really good question. So, I mean, you're spot on. 2003 was when I started my PhD. And at that time, Professor, neural networks and AI was more a research subject and a theoretical subject. There were very few practical applications on that, and that was really because the computers are not big enough to build large neural networks. To really get the value out of neural networks, you have to build really large neural networks, for which means you need huge computing power and a lot of data, which really we didn't have in the early 2000s. But over the last few years, what we've seen is because of cloud computing, we enabled. I mean, if you take my PhD, the largest neural network I built was like 5 layers. But now, if you take ChatGPT, it has 200 layers. But in 2000, I don't think all the computers in the world would have been enough to train ChatGPT. We didn't have enough compute power and we didn't have enough data. So really, one of the reasons why AI has come a long way is because we've gone for these larger models and their capabilities have increased. Their capabilities increased to the level where now they're actually adding value. And that's really the big change. And like I said, now in Dialogue, we have about 40 AI models in production, where we use AI for everything from stockout production, predictions to churn prediction to upselling. We have a number of models which are automated, they're running all the time, and those processes are happening all the time. Uh, but in terms of awareness, Sri Lanka honestly is very, very behind the rest of the world, and you're spot on, Professor. And my feeling is that the problem that we see is that the understanding amongst the business leaders on how to build business cases around AI and how to manage AI projects and how to define ROI is not there. So I really feel that the business schools in Sri Lanka have to really start investing, bringing in more knowledge amongst the senior business leaders on how to manage AI projects. And like I said in my talk as well, AI projects are not a one-off investment where you get the value next day. It's not about just bringing in technology. Even bringing in technology to really plug it into your system and get the value is usually a journey of a few years. I mean, Amazon took 20 years to get to where they are today. And that understanding and that patience is really not there in the senior leadership in Sri Lanka. So that example, and so maybe one way to do that is now I think just market dynamics is forcing them to do this, because if not, we'll have all these foreign companies who come in and will be a lot more efficient at doing things and they'll wipe our companies out. So now they have to do it. But once again, because now they are urgent, they don't really understand that glide path on how to build that value. So I think the more use cases we can show more Sri Lankan companies of the value that some Sri Lankan companies are getting, but also more importantly, what companies around the world in different industries are getting. I think we got to give them more awareness on those, and those are the main challenges. But I feel that the understanding amongst the senior leadership in Sri Lanka is severely lacking on how to invest in AI systems, how to propagate AI. They will do an investment in 6 months. They will go to the technical people, shout at them, and so there's nothing happening. You're not showing any value. You're just burning my money, and they kill the program. I've seen this happen in so many companies. But it's those companies who keep plugging away, fail and learn and fail and learn for 3, 4 years. Those are the companies that get the value. I know of no company in the world which has made an investment and has shown returns in 6 months' time. That just does not happen with AI. It's a journey. It's on one side, it's a technology, but then very importantly, it's transforming your strategy, transforming your staff, and the worst scenario for a company is when the ideas for new AI systems come from your technical team. That is usually a recipe for disaster. The best companies that get the value for AI is where the really good ideas come from the people in the business and say, I want this built. Then they go to the technical team and the technical team builds it. But what I've seen in a lot of companies in Sri Lanka is that a lot of the ideas and the projects they start are ideated by the technical teams. And that is usually a recipe for disaster because the technical teams don't understand the business. So how you transform your company where 9 out of 10 of your ideas are coming from the business teams and they are real valid answers, valid problems to solve, that's where you start to get the benefit. The second question, Proskandi, the ChatGPT problem is a big one. And I think every university around the world is dealing with it. But I think it's an awareness issue. I talked to some of my old professors in Oxford and Cambridge as well, and what they do is they teach the ethics to the students at a very age, where just like you said, this is not something you can avoid, but right to the students must understand that this is something that you can use to help them, something that you can use as an assistant, something you can use as a tutor, but not something that you can replace. The ethics of, that you can't take something that you got out of ChatGPT and pass it off as your own. That needs to be instilled in the students from a very, very, very young age. And that awareness needs to start very, very early. It's like cheating. You know, you can bring a copy sheet, and these things students know that's wrong, and if they get caught, they get fired or they get suspended. Those type of regulations need to come in for the use of ChatGPT as well, and I think we are a bit behind. But if you look at a lot of the top universities in the world, they already have policies on GenAI, which they publicize. There are awareness programs, but really this has to come through awareness. The students have to understand that this is a tool that they can use to augment them, but not to pass off as your own work. Those ethics, I think, are very important, and I think it's even more important to start this at the school level, where the students understand that you can't take an AI, something that an AI came up with, and pass it off as your own invention. And I think this is even there in the US in things like copyright laws and IP laws, where something designed by an AI you can't get the intellectual property as a person if it was designed by an AI. So I think that's a process that we need to follow, but we also have to be very strict and have good governance on that as well. But it is a problem, especially because nobody's talking about this. And those students who, I mean, eventually these students will understand that those students who don't use ChatGPT to do bad things will come out ahead of those students who do. So that understanding will come, but it will take time.
Thank you.
I
Thank
hope.
you, Dr. Ramesh. Just to comment now for CMA, in our final year syllabus, we have ethics and governance. So I think we are going on the right direction, and I'm sure all our students will be able to get assistance. So let me hand you over to Mr. Ruchira Perera, our council member, to take on the Q&A session.
Sure.
Thank you, Dr. Ramesh. Thank you for that very excellent presentation. So there are a few questions. There are a few questions in the chat box, but before I move to the questions, let me ask this question from you. Now, how important is the prompts? Now, you have also mentioned about the prompts. How important are the prompts when communicating with chat box? Because if we don't ask the proper questions, I don't think we get the proper answers even from a robot.
Very, very important, Richard. I mean, it's the AIs do better when you are as descriptive as possible. So instead of getting the AI to take a leap from your question to the answer, you must be able to guide the AI to the answer. And now, if you look at some of the prompts that we use at Dialogue for our marketing and things like that, the prompt is about 4 pages long. Because I mean, what I did in my example here today is very simple. It's just one sentence or something like that. But if you look at the ones we use commercially, they are exceptionally long prompts. But we don't write those 4 page prompts every time from scratch. What we have is we modularize our prompts, and we have different parts like corporate guidelines, persona guidelines, writing guidelines. We have reusable things that we have developed and we have put in libraries. So whenever we develop a new prompt, we bring that in and we copy and paste and we build a whole prompt. But very, very important, having writing skills, having descriptive writing skills, I think is the most important. And we were actually having this discussion at Dialogue a few months ago, where we created an internship program for prompt engineers, and we were trying to figure out who were the best people to hire as interns for prompt engineers, and the obvious answer was English graduates.
Yeah, actually, Professor Watawala, now this is, I think, something that we also can look forward to in the future? Because I know through speechcraft, we are giving them proper communication skills. But I think in the future, this is also something that they may require. They may require these skills also in order to get the proper responses from ChatGPT.
Correct. And even at Dialogue now, we put together a prompt engineering certificate for all staff, which I'm conducting, and we have hands-on workshops where our goal is to train everybody at Dialogue to be a prompt engineer.
Correct. That's very important. And also, Dr. Anavada, now I know now certain researchers, now even though we have talked about ethics and governance, of course, we were talking about how ethical it is to use ChatGPT answers in assignments. But I know some researchers are using ChatGPT in order to conduct their researches, in order to analyze data, in order to summarize literature review, they're using ChatGPT.
I mean, it once again comes down to those ethics, right? I mean, there are some things which are fine. I mean, we use ChatGPT to summarize documents all the time, but 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 the but you must also understand that some of the stuff that ChatGPT spits out could be wrong. It just gets wrong all the time. So if you don't have that knowledge to be able to look at what the AI puts out and analyze it and critically analyze it, more often than not, you're going to have a big failure at some point of your career because you don't have that base knowledge and the skill to be able to critically know whether this is correct or wrong.
Yes.
So I think that
In that
understanding.
case, I think, Ramesh, we have to cite it. No, when you are using ChatGPT and get the summary or review the work,
Exactly,
that
Prashant.
is not a researcher's work. That is, you have to cite it. Otherwise, it's a
Exactly.
plagiarism, right? That is the
Exactly.
way they do.
I mean, it comes down to the AI augmenting you, not replacing you. That's the mindset I think people have to understand, where you use it as like having an assistant or a PA or somebody like that, but you still run it by yourself. You make that final decision. But if it's the other way around, where the AI is guiding you, then it's a recipe for disaster. And I've seen a lot of people who produce papers, reports, PowerPoints where they haven't even thought about it. They've just got ChatGPT to churn it out and they look like idiots at the end.
Dr. Adar, one more question. Now, what is the latest version of ChatGPT? Is it ChatGPT 4.0 or 4.1?
It's 4, but there's a new variant of it called 4.0. ChatGPT 4.0. So the one I was 4.0, 4 with a simple O. That's the latest version on ChatGPT.
So in that latest version, can we upload Excel sheet now, say for example, without copy and pasting them into, let's say, into PDF documents? Can we upload the Excel sheet so that?
So that's what I did on the Pro version. I think one of the questions asked on the QA was, I'm using the Pro version. And on the Pro version, you can upload the Excel file itself.
Excel file itself. So it will read the Excel file and it will answer the questions.
Correct.
It's great.
That's what I did. I uploaded the Excel file in the demo that I did for you, which was on the Apple stock price.
Okay, there was a question, Doctor. This participant is asking how to use ChatGPT in auditing, in external auditing.
So it's really about, I mean, it's about getting your data prepared in a certain way and then running your numbers through a series of questions. So there is I mean, it may be not at the level where you just upload all your accounts and you may have to do a bit of pre-processing and generate certain summaries and things like that. But once you get your data prepared, once you have those summary layers ready, then you can send it into something like ChatGPT, and it's about asking questions. The same way that you would ask questions from the data, it's about getting the data prepared to be able to answer those questions. It can be sometimes iterative, where your data might not give the information that ChatGPT wants, but once you run through a few rounds, you will understand how to do that.
So can it simplify bookkeeping? Can it do tedious tasks like data entry, invoice processing, reconciliations?
Easily. I mean, it's about writing the correct prompts, writing the correct processes, but those type of things which are very repetitive are very, very easy to automate.
So that means that can take over certain jobs in the future.
Most definitely. I mean, especially repetitive jobs where, it's the same thing done over and over again with little variation. There's no doubt those jobs are going to be automated.
So in conversational finance, Doctor, now tell me now, for us to have a proper conversation with the computer, now we know prompts are important. Now, can the computer understand our queries? Basically, now, say, for example, if you are having a conversation with a person, that person can understand our thought process. But can the computer understand it in the same way?
Not in the same way. I mean, if I was to get a bit technical, all these systems are essentially statistical prediction models. So if you have shown somebody enough samples of a particular type of conversation, it is able to predict what the answer should be. So these
Sure.
systems are not intelligent in our sense of intelligence. They
Exactly.
are. It's just that they've been trained on billions and billions and billions of samples. That when you enter something, it can predict what the most likely answer is going to be. And
Correct.
that's why the more data something is trained on, it gives that illusion of intelligence.
Okay.
But they don't have
Also,
intelligence as such. Yes.
some
Ruchira,
of these.
there is a question from the audience. I will just
Okay, okay,
give
sir.
it to her, but keep it
Yeah.
short, okay? It's Lakshmini Kaushalya. Please keep it short, okay? Okay.
Sir, can you, the question is basically about how to write reports without having issues on plagiarism.
Right.
So that's a interesting
Senior
question.
Professor Kennedy, you can also give your thoughts on this. Yeah, you can go ahead, Dr. Anand.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're using ChatGPT, there's always going to be a bit of plagiarism involved because it's trained on other people's documents. So anything that ChatGPT comes up with is trained on something else it was trained on. But one way to direct it is to make your prompt very, very specific, to specify the writing style, explain what you want it to say, what you don't want it to say. The more detailed you get in your prompt, the better you can direct it, and that you can make it more original than something that ChatGPT writes. So it's really when I write prompts, my prompts are usually at least a page long. And then what it puts out is more, it's 90% aligned with what I want instead of 90% aligned with what ChatGPT wants. So it's about directing the AI, and that's where, going back to your previous question, prompt engineering is very, very important here.
Professor Kennedy, would you like to add any comments on
Why
this?
don't you go through the questions? There are 14, there might be. Why don't you go
There are
through the
some
questions?
repetitive questions, Professor.
Q&A.
Yeah, there are certain questions which are repetitive. Implementing AI in external auditing, that question I have asked. There are some comments. One has commented saying he can't upload PDF documents in ChatGPT. Is there a special version for that?
So I am using the Pro version, which is the paid version. I pay $20 a month for this. I thought the free version also allowed, but maybe that's not the case. But definitely on the Pro version, you can upload any type of document, a video, Excel file, Word file, PDF, anything, and it can answer questions on that.
So for a technical and a non-technical person, there's another question on this. For a technical and for a non-technical person, what is your suggestion on future education related to AI?
So I think everybody, I mean, just like IT became a core skill over the last 25 years, we all now know that every student has to learn IT, learn computers, learn how computers work. I think over the next 10 years, knowledge of how AI works is also going to become a similar core skill. It's got to be brought into curriculum, and it's got to be something that every student has to learn because they will be using AI throughout their lives. So in that moment, how to use these systems, how to pick the best system, where can these AI systems go wrong, what are their failure points? If you don't have that understanding of AI, once again, it's this what Professor Kennedy pointed out, people using ChatGPT blindly happens. But me as an AI engineer, I know that these AI systems get it wrong a lot of the time. I don't trust them blindly. But I know that I do that because I have an understanding of what AI is. And it's very important to teach the students. And my feeling is over the next 10 years, it'll become a core skill going forward where you have to have a basic understanding of AI.
It will become a necessary skill. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Anand, now, which ChatGPT you have used today? 4.0 or 4.0?
4.0, yeah. 4.0 on Pro is what I normally use now.
Is that the latest version? Is
It
that
is.
the latest version? That's the latest version.
It's about 5 or 6 times faster than ChatGPT 4 also, and the
And
answers
it
are
is
very
also,
quality as well. Yeah,
I hope it is also updated with the latest content.
it is, and it also works on singlies.
Okay.
So we use it quite a lot now for things like translations as well.
So this question, I will ask this question: Can we interpret legislations in a more digestible way, especially using AI?
Definitely. It's this type of systems are very, very good at that. And we've been working with the legal department on reviewing documents, contracts, and things like that. And it's taken it to another level. The type of work that normally takes them 3-4 days, now we can finish in an hour or two by getting the AI to do the summarization, extract certain information. Once again, it's about prompting how you ask the questions, whether you ask the correct question. Then, if it understands it, the AI is able to do that. So it's a game change on that front.
Can I ask a
Okay.
question, Rujira?
Yes.
Mr. Ramesh, how do you think that you can make the government efficient and effective?
I told you the technology is only 30% of the picture. 70%, 70% is changing the processes and the people. That's the biggest problem.
But
Yeah,
you all introduced the QR code, you remember? I think I saw you all. So I think, so taking
yeah,
that
yeah.
into
It's,
account,
it's,
how do you see? Because that was one
no,
of the biggest
so I'm
achievements. Huh?
no, so I'm there's a national AI strategy being developed, and I'm actually chairman of that. We'll be launching the first time Sri Lanka's national AI strategy in about 3 or 4 weeks time. And But then it's all about execution. How there's a lot of fear about AI. We are going to lose our jobs. That type of fear mongering is also going on. So I think the biggest challenge is the people and the processes. Instead of just trying to plug in AI into how things are done now, you have to reinvent your processes to meet AI, and the people had to be trained. I mean, same comment I made earlier, Professor Atal, which is it's
Mm.
not the universities who should be coming up with ideas. It should be the Indian Revenue Department who comes and says, "I want this system built." So
Actually,
those are
I can give you one example. In 1977, when they said that they are going to open up the economy
Hmm,
and allow foreign banks to come in, they said that all the two state banks will have to close down. But you know what they did? They started computerization. This was really something that they changed in. Today they are really at the top, that they can provide any service. So I think a similar thing should be done, because if we take the initiative, and we did it before India, because India, they could not do it because of the trade unions. But our people, they worked together and supported and did this. So
correct.
I think you can use this when you're going to promote the AI.
No, and there's going to be a national AI center set up, and I think there's a new Digital Transformation Act coming in. So it's all fitting in together. It's really about how we execute this over the next 5 years. But I mean, the benefits to government are massive, but more than that, the benefits that will bring to the people, the general
Yeah.
public, accessibility,
Yeah.
speed of this thing, the corruption side, it can be a game changer if this is done properly and can solve a lot of our problems. Also in education.
Yeah.
And Dr. Ramesh, can you introduce the incubator system like in Thailand, some other country, AI incubators like CMA also we can establish the one incubator. Those are national, training centers like universities, CIMA, chartered. Under your AI strategy for Sri Lanka, can you suggest such a
We
things?
have we have suggested that Professor, at least one incubator in every province we have proposed, and also specialized incubators. Without making them like incubator which can do any project, we've also proposed that we set up specialized incubators, for example, agriculture one, another one for health sector, another one for banking, so that the researchers also don't go off on strange tangents. They're focused on solving particular problems. And something else we've also suggested the government do is to publish publicly national priorities and systems which need to be built, so that even universities, researchers, they don't go and do anything they want. There's funding available to do research in particular specified segments. I think EU and UK have been doing this for a long time, where the research funds are channeled towards those areas of national interest. Whereas we don't really do that. Our research funds are available, but there is no mandate on what the fund should be used for. So all those are incorporated into our strategy. I'll send you a copy of it in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's what right now I am also trying to establish the incubator in our university system. That is what I asked that question from you.
Anything else, Ruchira?
Yeah, Professor, there are some questions. I don't know whether we have enough time to.
You can take maybe one last question, depending on how you're. Dr. Ramesh, are you okay, or how?
I'm okay for about another 5 minutes, Professor.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Dr. Ramesh, one
Final one,
quick question. One person is asking, is there any way to learn writing prompts?
There are several courses. There are lots of courses available online, but the one I find the best is there's a website called deeplearning.ai, and they have some basic prompt engineering courses, which I found to be very, very good.
Okay.
Okay, then maybe we can finish off. Monica, our new CEO, why not you give the vote of thanks to Dr. Ramesh?
Yes.
Yeah. You can give the
I
vote. Yeah.
Yes, I would like to extend a heartfelt gratitude to every one of you for attending to this webinar. On behalf of CMA Sri Lanka, I would like to express our deep appreciation to Dr. Ramesh Ranawardene for your valuable insight and transforming financial insight. And thanks to the rest of the panel members also. Today, the CMA Sri Lanka uh, students are very much blessed with their latest curriculum with the technology stream, because we have 4 subjects in this technological side. One is IT application, the other one is data analytics. So in the strategic level, we have digital tools for accountants, then another subject, advanced data analytics. So we are into this AI actually. So I hope the participants would have got the insight of this webinar. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramesh. I think we are very grateful to you for your presence. I know that you are also very tight for time, and your services are required very much, but for making available your time. And I'm sure that this is only a start with us, that we will be able to carry this forward, and that you will be present for our events, and others will invite you. And let me thank you very much for all the knowledge that you have created. That is the most important thing. And I think as management accountants, definitely they will be able to make use of this, because they already have a knowledge, and it's now a real value addition that was done. And thank you, and we wish you all the very best, and we'll keep in touch. And also my thanks to your CEO and MD, Mr. Supun, as Professor Kennedy Gunawardena mentioned, is a product of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, and now he is also a member of our institute. So we are indeed happy, and we look forward to your contribution, and wish you all the very best in the implementation of AI. And I'm sure that it will bring a lot of benefit to the people of Sri Lanka. Thank you, and all the very best.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesh.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramesh. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Senior Professor Kennedy.
Thanks.